The 20th of July, the moon, Earth's satellite, 2026 Common Era, 2569 Buddhist Era. A brief reading from the Common Buddhist Text, Guidance and Insight from the Buddha. We are currently in Chapter 11 on monatistic and lay disciples and noble persons. Today, we will read from the Mahālisutta, Dīgha Nikāya, Volume 1, 156. And this is on the four kinds of noble disciples. This passage differentiates the main kinds of noble ones in terms of fetters or intoxicating inclinations of asavas eradicated. The Arihat is defined as one who has ended all the intoxicating inclinations as well as all the above fetters. A monk from the elimination of the first three fetters is a sotapan, or the stream enterer. No longer bound to neither of the worlds. In Pali is a sotapanna. Fixed in destiny with awakening as his destination. Again, a monk from the elimination of the three fetters and the reduction of attachment, hatred, and delusion is a once returner, Sakayagami in Pali. Coming to this world once more makes an end of the painful. Again, a monk from the elimination of the five lower fetters will be spontaneously rebirthed. He is one who attains nipita without returning from that world again, which is a non-returner, anagami. Again, a monk from the destruction of the intoxicating inclination reaches in this very life the liberation of mind without intoxicating inclinations and liberation by wisdom, which he has realized by his own higher knowledge, and having attained this, dwells in it. This is cited from the Mahālisutta, Dīgha Nikāya, Volume 1, 156. I'm going to pull that up here now and do a summary of what's covered in the Mahālisuttas. The Buddha is staying near the town of Vesali in the Great Wood in the hall with a peak roof. And then several groups of visitors arrive hoping to meet him. The Hindu Brahmin emissaries from Kosala and Magadha, Mahāli, a Lechivi noble with a large group of other Lechivis, and Siha, a novice monk. All of them want to see the Buddha, but his attendant, Nakita, explains that the Buddha is currently on retreat. They wait patiently until Siha informs the Buddha, who then agrees to meet them. Now the questions about heavenly sights and sounds gets posed to the Buddha. Mahāli tells the Buddha that Sunankata, a Lechivi who had been living under the Buddha's guidance for 3 years, reported he sees heavenly sights, beautiful, pleasant, enticing, but he cannot hear heavenly sounds of the same kind. Mahāli asked the Buddha, do heavenly sounds actually exist? And if they do, why can't Sunantaka hear them? The Buddha replies, yes, heavenly sounds do exist. Sunankata cannot hear them because of how he developed his concentration. Now, the key teachings of this is a one-sided immersion. The Buddha explains that concentration can be developed in one-sided ways. A concentrator or a meditator may cultivate concentration focused on seeing heavenly sights, but not on hearing heavenly sounds. This can happen in any directions: east, south, west, north, above, below, or even across. If someone develops concentration only towards visual heavenly perceptions, they will see but not hear. This is actually what happened with Sunankata. The meaning of this teaching is the Buddha uses the situation to teach a broader point. Concentration meditation produces results according to how it is developed. If someone trains one only aspect of concentration, they will not only gain that one result. Balanced development leads to balanced results. This also subtly addresses Sunankata's dissatisfaction. He expected certain supernatural experiences, but his experience, practice, was not aligned with those expectations. Now, the underlying themes of this is patience and respect. The visitors wait quietly until the Buddha is ready. Cause and effect in concentration meditation. Spiritual results arise from specific training. Misunderstanding of practice. Sunankata explains complaint comes from incomplete development, not from a flaw in the Buddha's teaching. The Buddha's clarity. He explains phenomenon without mysticism, simply through the mechanics of concentration meditation. Now, what we could take away from the Mahālisutta is it shows that the Buddha's teaching that its spiritual experiences depend on how one practices. Sunankata's inability to hear heavenly sounds is not due to their non-existence, but because he developed one-sided concentration, focus on seeing. Now, I'm going to cite this in the description for those who want to go in and look further on what the Sutta Mahāli or the Mahālisutta says. But here is a brief summary of that. Was the brief summary of it, and I'm going to read it out. This is the long discourse, Dīgha Nikāya with Mahāli. On one time, the Buddha was staying near Vesali in a great wood in the hall of the peaked road. Now the times that several Brahmins emissary from Kosala and Mahāli were residing in Vesali on some business. They heard it seems that the ecstatic Gautama, a Sakyan warrior clan gone forth from the Sakyan family, is staying near Vesali at the great wood in the hall with the peaked roof. He has a good reputation. The Blessed One is perfected, fully awakened, Buddha, accomplished in knowledge and conduct, holy knower of the world, supreme guide for those fit for training, teachers of gods and human, awakened and blessed. He has realized with his own insight this world with its god, martyrs, and his divinities, this population with its ecstatics and Brahmins, gods, humans, and he makes it known to others. He proclaims the teaching that is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good to the very end, meaningful as well praise or phase. And he reveals a spiritual practice that is entirely full and pure. It's good to see such perfected ones. Then they went to the hall with the peaked roof and the great wood to see the Buddha. Now at the time, the Venerable Nikāya with the Buddha's attendant, the Brahmin emissaries, went up to him and said, "Worthy Nikāya, where is worthy Gautama at present? For we want to see him." The reply is, it is the wrong time to see the Buddha. He is on retreat. So right there, the Brahmin emissaries sat down to one side thinking, well, we'll go only after we have seen the worthy Gautama. Odata, the Lichivi clan, together with a large assembly of Lepchavis, also approached Nikāya in the hall with the peaked roof. He bowed, stood to one side, and said to Nikāya, "Worthy Nikāya, where is the Blessed One at present, the perfectly perfected one, the fully awakened Buddha? For we want to see him. It is the wrong time to see the Buddha. He is on retreat." So right there, Otataha also sat down to one side thinking, I'll only go after I have seen the Blessed One, the perfectly perfected one, fully awakened Buddha. Then the novice C.A.F approached Nikāya. He bowed down, stood to one side, and said to Nikāya, "Honorable Kassapa, the several Brahmin emissaries from Kosala and Magadha, and also Otaka and the Lichivis together, with the large assembly of Lichivis, have come here to see the Buddha. I'd be good if these people go see the Buddha." "Well then, C.A.F, tell the Buddha yourself." "Yes, sir," replied the novice C.A.F. He went to the Buddha, bowed, stood to one side, and told him of the people waiting to see him, adding, "Sir, it is good if these people got to see the Buddha." "Well then, C.A.F spread out the seat in the shade of the dwelling." "Yes, sir," replied C.A.F, and he did so. Then the Buddha came out of his dwelling, sat in the shade of the dwelling on the seat spread out. The Brahmin emissaries went up to the Buddha and exchanged greetings with him. When the greetings and polite conversation were over, they sat down to one side. Otata, the Lichivi, together with a large assembly of Lichivis, also went up to the Buddha, bowed down, and sat to one side. Otata said to the Buddha, "Sir, a few days ago, Sunakaka, the Lichivi, came to see me and said, 'Mahāli, soon I will have been living in dependence on the Buddha for 3 years. I see heavenly sights that are pleasant, sensual, and arousing, but I do not hear heavenly sounds that are pleasant, sensual, and arousing. The heavenly sounds that Sunakaka cannot hear, do such sounds really exist or not? Such sounds really do exist, but Sunakata cannot hear them. What is the cause, sir? What is the reason why Sunakata cannot hear them, even though they really do exist?' Mahāli, take a mendicant who has developed immersion to the eastern quarter in one aspect so as to see the heavenly sights, but do not hear the heavenly sounds. When they have developed immersion for that purpose, they see heavenly sights, but do not hear heavenly sounds. Why is that? Because that is how it is for the mendicant who develops immersion in that way. Furthermore, take a mendicant who has developed immersion to the southern quarter in one aspect, western quarter, northern quarter, above, below, and across. That is how it is for a mendicant who develops immersion in that way. Take a mendicant who has developed immersion, absorption, awareness, concentration to the eastern quarter in one aspect so that he could hear the heavenly sounds, but not to see heavenly sights. When they have developed immersion for that purpose, they hear heavenly sounds, but do not see heavenly sights. Why is that? Because that is how it is for a mendicant who develops immersion in that way. Furthermore, take a mendicant who has developed immersion to the southern quarter in one aspect, western quarter, northern quarter, above, below, across in one aspect. That is how it is for a mendicant who develops immersion in that way. The mendicant who has developed immersion to the eastern quarter in both aspects, so as to hear heavenly sounds and see heavenly sights. When they have developed immersion for that purpose, they see heavenly sights and hear heavenly sounds. Why is that? Because that is how it is for the mendicant who develops immersion in that way. Furthermore, take a mendicant who has developed immersion to the southern quarter in both aspects, western quarters, northern quarters, above, below, and across. That is how it is for a mendicant who develops immersion in that way. This is the cause, Mahāli. This is the reason why Sunnāntaka cannot hear heavenly sounds that are pleasant, sensual, and arousing, even though they really do exist. Surely the mendicants must lead the spiritual life under the Buddha for the sake of realizing such a development of immersion. No, Mahāli, the mendicants do not lead the spiritual life under me for the sake of realizing such development of immersion. There are other things that are finer for the sake of which the mendicants lead the spiritual life under me. The four noble fruits, Sakhu, Arya, Pala. But sir, what are those finer things? Firstly, Mahāli, with the ending of the three fetters, asavas, a mendicant is a sotapan, or a stream enterer, not liable to be reborn in the underworld, assured, destined for awakening. This is one for the finer things for the sake of which the mendicants lead the spiritual life under me. Furthermore, a mendicant with the ending of the three fetters, asavas, the weakening of greed, hatred, and delusion, is a sakagami, a once returner. They come back to this world once only, then make an end of suffering. That too is one of the final things. Furthermore, with the ending of the five lower asavas, the fetters, a mendicant is reborn spontaneously and will become extinguished here. That is anagami, not liable to return to this world. This too is the final things. Furthermore, a mendicant has realized the undefiled freedom of heart and freedom by wisdom in this very life, and lives having realized it with their own insight due to the ending of kalesas, defilements. He becomes an arihat. This too is one of the finer things. These are the finer things for the sake of which the mendicant lead the spiritual life under me. So those are the four noble persons that we were reading this morning. And I haven't ended it yet for the Mahālisutta. It goes on to the Eight Noble Fold Path, the two renunciants, and it ends the sutra there. But it's a long one. For those that want to look further into it, feel free to go in and read it. This is translated from Bhikkhu Sujato, from the Dīgha Nikāya. The root, it would be Pali, and translated into English from the long discourses of the Sikha Kanta Vaga, Dīgha Nikāya 6. Now I'm going to put that in the description for those who want to check that out. A brief reading from the Common Buddhist Text, Guidance and Insight from the Buddha.